Welcome to Author Life Podcast, where myself and guest authors share their stories, offer tips and advice, and share our writing, publishing, and marketing knowledge. I'm your host, Delcherie Gladden. Welcome back. I'm your host, Delcherie Gladden, and today we're going to be talking about building a marketing plan that's actually doable. And the doable part is what overwhelms a lot of new authors, because it seems like a monumental task to figure out how to market your book, either on your own or in tandem with your publisher. And even though it is a big effort and it takes time and sometimes money, and you do have to put in a lot of work to it, you can set up a marketing plan that's going to be manageable and doable with your circumstances and your situation. So that's what we're going to work on today. This is going to be a two-part podcast because there's a lot involved in marketing and I don't want to overwhelm everybody trying to shove it all into one podcast. So this will be part one of two. So let's start out with the basics of creating your marketing plan. And the first thing that you need to consider is time. How much time per week or per day are you willing or able to put into marketing? And this is going to be individual to every person. And it needs to be a realistic number. If you have 30 minutes during your lunch break at work, awesome. If you have 4 hours to dedicate to this in the morning, awesome as well. It needs to just be something that is a realistic amount of time that you can contribute towards your marketing efforts so that you're building a plan that fits what time you can put into it. So even if you have just a short amount of time, a lot can be accomplished in that short amount of time if you're using it efficiently. If you have more time, keeping a list or a schedule is going to help you use that bigger block of time efficiently as well, because sometimes having more time does not always help you get more accomplished. Now, the next thing that we want to consider is money. And this is a big stumbling block for a lot of new writers, but it doesn't have to be. Again, we need to be realistic, and you need to set a firm budget. Whether that is a big budget or a small budget, it doesn't matter. Look at your own finances, look at what you're willing and able to contribute to your marketing efforts, and then stick to that. Don't get carried away. There are a lot of free marketing options, so don't feel like you have to have a big budget in order to really market your book well. If you have a small budget, there are a lot of author-friendly marketing options, like I said, that are free or that cost as little as $5. And even some of those free or inexpensive methods can have a really good impact. So don't feel like you can't do anything if you have a budget of $0 or, $20 a month to put toward that. We all have to start somewhere. Now, the next thing that I want you to consider while building your marketing plan is the amount of effort you are able or willing to put in. What can you do on your own, and what do you need help with? No one person can do everything on their own. Sometimes we try, doesn't work very good. So admitting what your strengths and weaknesses are going to help you figure out where you do need that extra help, where you might need to put your marketing money toward. If those are aspects that you feel you can't do yourself or are not comfortable doing yourself, focus your paid portion of your marketing toward that direction. Save what you can do for yourself to save yourself some money and take that on as your part of your marketing plan. Don't be afraid to ask for advice or help when you need it, especially from other authors. One of the things I love most about being a part of the writing and author community is that the majority of authors are so willing to help each other, whether that's promotion or advice or just sitting down and talking with you about a certain aspect for a few minutes. Authors are really great about that. So don't feel intimidated asking questions, because we've all done it, and it's nice to be able to give back and help someone else do the same thing. So now that we have kind of your basic considerations down, let's move to the next step of marketing. And anytime you are trying to market a product, you need to know who you're going to be marketing it to. So that is called knowing your audience. And you want to know who you're going to be marketing this product to, because that's going to make your marketing efforts a lot more efficient than just trying to market to everybody. Not everybody is going to be interested in your book. So finding out who is going to be interested in your book will help you a lot in narrowing down and targeting your marketing so it's more effective and you're seeing more reward for your time, effort, or money that's being put in. Now, what type of avenues of marketing do you want to pursue? This is an important question because everybody's going to be a little bit different. Some of the options are in-person marketing, online marketing, targeting blogs and reviewers, focusing on social media, things like that. Look at what you are comfortable approaching and what type of social interactions you enjoy participating in. For some people, they really enjoy in-person events like book signings or lectures at schools or teaching a class, things like that. If that's more your style, we'll talk later about how to start lining some of those opportunities up and focusing your efforts on those in-person marketing opportunities. If you despise public speaking, which unfortunately a lot of authors tend to not like public speaking, tend to be introverts. If that's not your style, you don't want to jump into that first. You may want to focus more on online marketing, such as Facebook parties, Twitter chats, just social media advertising, things like that. And this, again, is going to be an individual choice where you want to start with your marketing. And hopefully over time that will expand and you'll be able to include more things. But in the beginning, when you're just starting out, you want to look at what you're comfortable with so that you don't dread having to do it every day. Find something that is enjoyable for you to interact on so that you can do that and feel comfortable interacting with readers either online or in person and talking about your books and yourself. So once you have your audience and an idea of what avenues you want to pursue, the next thing to consider is, what is your goal with your marketing? Now, of course, every writer's goal, when you look at their ultimate goal, is to, become a New York Times bestseller, up there with J.K. Rowling's richest woman in England. I don't know if that's still true, but at one time it was. Of course, that's all our goal. We would all love to see that happen with our books. But let's start with some of your smaller, maybe more attainable goals right now. And that may be a certain number of books you want to sell per week. Your goals may be to get so many reviews, to increase your reader interaction. So manageable goals to start out with, not necessarily the blockbuster movie deal right now. And ways that you can kind of help narrow down your goals and find attainable goals at this stage in your writing career is to study your competition. What are they doing? What are their numbers in sales? Facebook page likes, things like that. Look at what's working for them and also look at what's not working for them. You see an author who maybe is really trying to make it work on Twitter and they've got 100 followers, which is not very much. It's important to study maybe why that's not an effective mode of marketing for that person, where it might be for someone else. You're going to see those differences there and you can learn from that. Look especially at some of the creative ways that other authors are marketing their books. The more unique tactics you have, the more your book and your marketing is going to stand out over others. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So marketing is tough. I think everybody will agree on that, not just authors, but everyone involved in marketing a product. But making a plan that fits into your life, your budget, and your schedule is definitely going to make it a lot more manageable. So let's start talking about specifics. You want to start marketing your book well before it releases. This is basically the preparatory marketing phase. And a lot of this is going to start out with networking with bloggers. There are so many book bloggers out in the blogosphere, and they are going to be your best friend as an author. And not just the ones who have hundreds or thousands of followers. Someone like Nerd Girl, who they have a really substantial following, or I Am a Reader, Not a Writer. Those are some really big book blogs right now, and they're great if you can get some interaction with them and get some reviews or some promotions going. That's awesome. But sometimes it's the smaller bloggers who are going to really actively promote your post or review or whatever you decide to do with them, because they're looking for new readers. So they're going to promote you heavily to try to get their links out there. And then hopefully you're doing the same. So it's a mutual benefit for them. If they help promote you, you're helping promote them. So don't overlook the small bloggers. They can be a really good benefit to you. And also they can become a great reading ally for future books, because they're going to be more likely to remember you, remember working with you, and remember your book. Or sometimes with the bigger blogs, they do work with a lot of authors, and they're not going to necessarily remember every single one. And another important aspect of reaching out to bloggers is please do not spam every blogger you can find. That gets really irritating, and your email is most likely going to get ignored. So you want to build a relationship with different bloggers by actually going to their blog, checking out some of their posts, leaving some comments, interacting with them. Show that you are familiar with their blog, you know what their interests are, what kind of books they like, and that will help kind of get you in the door. So you're not just cold submitting to every blogger out there. Now, some of the blog posts that you're going to be looking at submitting or working with bloggers on are things like guest posts, which may be about writing, maybe about something more personal, maybe about your book specifically. A lot of book bloggers will do author interviews. They may also ask for a short excerpt from your book, or they'll do a Q&A. Top 10 lists are always fun. And again, that could be about you or your book or writing pet peeves, something like that. And then writing advice is always a popular one, because a lot of new or aspiring authors follow these book blogs. And so it's nice to be able to share some writing advice as well. And something that is important as you're reaching out to bloggers and you're starting to bring in reviews and guest posts and things like that, keep track of the bloggers that you work with. Just make a list, either, in your notebook or a Word document or something like that. Keep track of who you work with so that you can get in contact with them again for any future releases that you have. And then you're not starting over from square one every single time because you have that backlist of bloggers built up already. Now, another important part of your preparatory marketing is going to be social media. So much marketing takes place on social media now. So when you're looking at how to use social media effectively for marketing, an important aspect of that is being active on a regular basis. And which social media platform you use is completely up to you. Find one you enjoy using. If you really hate Instagram or Twitter or whatever, don't use it, because it's not going to be a benefit to you if you don't enjoy using it and you're not active on it. So pick 2 to 3 social media platforms that you enjoy using and that you feel comfortable on. And then you want to post regularly. And regularly kind of depends on the social media platform. If we're talking Facebook, on your author page, that can be as little as 1 to 2 posts per day. One is usually good, and then, something more spontaneous here and there if you find something you want to share. Twitter, on the other hand, most people are posting 3 to 4 times a day. Instagram can be all over the place as much as you want. People post on Instagram a lot, so don't be worried about posting too much there. Google Plus, if that's something you're interested in using, most of the recommendations are 3 to 5 posts per day. So it really depends on what social media you're interested in using, and kind of looking at those recommended standards for how often you should post, so you're not annoying everybody, but you're staying active and interacting with people. Things that you can share on your social media account are things like teasers that have quotes from your book, images of your cover art, or characters. Do be careful about not using copyrighted images, though. Don't use celebrity images. You do not own them. You can get in trouble for sharing those even on social media, so just stay away from celebrity images. Other things you can share are like character bios to help your readers get to know a little bit more about your characters in your book, things like that. And then just also more personal interactions, especially with things like on Twitter, sharing what you're doing during the day, or, just some comment you had or things like that. You want to have a good balance of organic posts that, are just things you're sharing in the moment, and then curated content, which would be like your teasers or your quotes or things like that. You want to have a good mix, so it's not all business. They're getting to know you as well as your books. And this is going to help you overall start to build a fan base and start to build interest in the projects that you're working on, books you have coming out, things like that. So interaction on social media is really important, not just posting as much as possible. You want to respond to comments, see what your readers are doing, encourage them to, share pictures of them with your book, or share their favorite quotes, things like that. So interaction is the important part of social media, getting that fan base built up, and then helping them to feel as part of your community. Now, the next thing you want to start thinking about is branding. Now, when you think of branding, you probably think of, like the Coke logo, or your favorite restaurant, whatever their logo is. And I'm not necessarily talking about coming up with a logo for yourself that people are going to recognize, because that's likely going to change from book to book. You don't want to stick with one look that doesn't then correlate to other projects that you're working on. When I talk about branding, I am talking about branding yourself as an author, not branding a particular book, because hopefully you'll have multiple books throughout your career, not just one. And how you start to brand yourself as an author is to establish your expertise through content. And that expertise is not necessarily you being an expert writer. It's you being an expert in whatever you choose to write about. If you do historical fiction or paranormal or middle grade, you are attempting to build reader confidence that you know your genre, you know your topic, and if they're interested in learning more about it, you're a good resource for them. Either because you provide really great books, you have good writing advice for your topics, or you just have some really great, interesting thoughts that you share with people. So you want to work on curating content through columns, articles, blog posts, maybe just sharing interesting articles or information that you come across and feel like passing on to those who might be interested. That's a great way to do it as well if you're not into blogging yourself. Share other people's blogs. Share what you find interesting and helpful for yourself. You want readers to know that what they can learn or expect from you. Do you share writing advice or posts about what you're reading? Do you talk about your hobbies? Do you just blog your thoughts on a variety of subjects? It's completely up to you how you want to brand yourself and what direction you want to take, but that does need to be a concept you're aware of and that you're working on through your marketing efforts. Now let's move out of the preparatory phase and get a little bit closer to the book actually coming out. So this is going to be your pre-release or launch marketing. So this is immediately leading up to a book release and then the actual release of the book. So you're going to have some different tactics here than you did in the pre-launch marketing. Now, blog tours are definitely something to consider. There have been times with my own personal marketing that I've really worked on incorporating a lot of blog tours, and there are times that I have not done blog tours at all. So it's up to each individual author whether they have the time or the budget for that or the skills to do it themselves. Some important things to consider about setting up blog tours, though, if you do want to use them, is that they need to be done in advance. Depending on the blog and their busyness, that may be 2 to 6 months in advance of whenever you want to have your blog tour. Bigger tour companies are going to require more time. They have a bigger client list and they're going to be booked further out. It also gives you more time to get bloggers interested in reviewing your book. So you need to have your advanced reader copies ready ahead of time so that they can be sent out to bloggers who are participating in the blog tour so they can actually get some reviews done. Blog tours are more about exposure. They're not really very helpful for boosting your sales necessarily, which is why some authors choose not to do blog tours and they find them to be ineffective. But if you go into a blog tour understanding that this is not necessarily a sales tactic, this is about exposure, about getting your cover art on a whole bunch of blogs, getting people talking about your book, building up reviews, getting readers interested, and introducing yourself to a wider variety of readers than what you can do on your own. And in that way of looking at it, blog tours can be very effective. So it's up to you on, what your goal is for your marketing at this stage and whether you want to put the time or money toward a blog tour or whether you want to maybe pass on that or do it at another time. That's going to be something for each person to consider on their own. Now let's talk a little bit about book trailers. If you are not familiar with book trailers, basically it's like a movie trailer, but shorter. Sometimes movie trailers can go on for several minutes, especially when they post the full ones like on YouTube. Book trailers are looking at doing the same thing as movie trailers, though. You're getting people interested in your book by giving them a glimpse of what it's about. Something to remember that sometimes people forget to do when they do their book trailers is that you want to post the release date in either the video itself or the description of the video so readers know when that's actually going to be available, whether that's on sale or for pre-order. Make sure to include that information. When you are putting your book trailer together or when you're having someone else do it for you, don't just use the blurb or the back copy from your book as the script. For one, it's most likely going to be way too long because, you've got a good several paragraphs in your blurb. Your book trailer should be 1 minute to about 1.5 minutes. And so you need a very short, concise, effective script for your book trailer. Once you have your script, you want to gather images, photos, video clips that go along with the script that you can incorporate into a cohesive video that's going to give a unique look at the book through this video format. Some book trailers use only text to give the script. Some people will use a voiceover narration where instead of the script being on the screen, someone's actually narrating the book trailer. Or you may want to do a live action book trailer where you maybe round up some volunteers and they act out some of the scenes for your book for you. So it's a little bit more like a movie trailer in that regard. Some really good resources for making your book trailer. If you need music, please do not use music that you've bought off of iTunes. You may own it so you can listen to it. You are not licensed to use it commercially. So don't do that. You'll get in trouble. You need to find royalty-free or commercially licensed music. And a great place for that is the Free Music Archive. And sometimes the software you're using will have music available for you to use as well. Good programs for making a book trailer include Windows Movie Maker, Animoto, or Stupaflix. Those are all really great, pretty easy to use video compilations software. And if you want to see some examples, just go to YouTube, type in book trailer, and you'll find all kinds of really great examples and some not so great ones. Which, watch those too, because you'll learn from them. Now, let's talk a little bit about reviews. I mentioned reviews when we were talking about book trailers, but reviews are not just something that you're going to go after during your blog tour. I think I said book trailer earlier. I meant to say blog tour. Reviews are really important to the success of your book, and so gathering reviews is going to be something that you definitely want to contribute some time and effort toward. And you do this by reaching out to bloggers who have read your book or who you are interested in having read your book. You want to talk to anybody who was a beta reader for you, who read copies while you were working on it and editing, or advanced copies, things like that. Talk to your friends who are interested in your genre. Family members at times can be great reviewers, and other authors who are interested in your genre. If somebody is new to reviewing, if you approach like a friend or a family member and say, oh, will you read this and then write a review for me? If they're not familiar with that, that can seem really intimidating. So make sure that when you make that offer, you give them a really simple explanation so that they don't feel overwhelmed by that. Explain the process and how easy it is to leave a review on something like Amazon or Barnes & Noble, iBooks, whatever they tend to shop for books on. And just kind of give them a little explanation of what a review is. It doesn't have to be long. It can just be a couple of sentences. It can just be a star rating on some platforms. But make sure to give them a little bit of an explanation so that they know it's not a difficult thing, that they can do that, just a few minutes and have that done for you. And then make sure to explain to them how important reviews are to the success of a book. It helps other readers see that people are buying your book, that they're enjoying it, and it can help boost your sales ranking depending on the different algorithms that are used. Now, an important part about getting reviews is that you should never pay someone to review your book. It is against most merchant sites' review policy, such as Amazon, and it's considered unethical. When dealing with Amazon specifically, they have some really strict and, in my opinion, overreaching policies on reviews. Family and close friends are not allowed to review your book. They can review it, but Amazon will most likely remove it later on because they believe that your friends or family may have a financial interest in your success. So they feel that that is not eligible for a review. And as far as Amazon goes, they have the same policy toward authors who are published under your same publishing house. So if you are with a publisher, other authors that are contracted with that publisher cannot review your book either. Again, because they think that that these other authors may have a financial interest in your book succeeding. I mean, they probably hope that your book will do well because, they're nice, but your book doing well in no way benefits them. So I do have some issues with the Amazon review policies, but I do understand that they're trying to weed out fake or troll reviews. The same issue comes up with street team members at times. If you have a street team, some of your members may have issues reviewing your books on Amazon particularly. And sometimes Amazon just makes that judgment themselves. They just think, oh, you're too connected to this person, we're not going to let them review for you. So it can be really frustrating with Amazon particularly. You just have to do your best, get as many reviews as you can, and, go from there. Goodreads does not limit reviews from friends and family, and I have not personally seen that being an issue with iBooks or Barnes & Noble. From what I have witnessed, I can't speak for other authors, but that hasn't been an issue for me thus far. One more thing about Amazon, reviews cannot be posted for a book on Amazon if it's on pre-order. You can only post reviews once it's actually live. So if you have people reviewing ahead of time, like on blogs and such, keep a list of those, and then when your book does go live, just send them a quick email reminder with the link. Say, hey, this is live now. You can review it. And basically all they have to do is copy and paste from wherever their review was originally. You can post reviews on Goodreads prior to release. So what you can have people do who read it ahead of time is say, here, post your review on Goodreads, and again, keep track of that. And then when the book goes live, just send them a quick reminder, say, hey, can you copy and paste your review onto Amazon now? The book is live. And it's super simple, really easy for them to do that, and it'll help you build up your reviews quickly, which is great. Now, I've mentioned pre-orders a couple of times so far, and just to go into that a little bit more, because that can be a really important pre-release marketing tool as well. Pre-order is when you set up your book to be available for purchase prior to it being released or shipped. And this can be really useful for authors. Usually during pre-order, you will offer a discounted price, and that can be, $1 to $2, not necessarily a major price cut, but some sort of incentive to buy it during the pre-order period. Make sure to add the links for your pre-order book to your website and social media so that people can find that and that they know it's available. Usually 2 to 4 weeks is a pretty common time period to have your book available for pre-order. Recent trends have been moving toward longer pre-order periods, sometimes 2 to 3 months even. It's up to you and what you're comfortable with and how long you're comfortable marketing a pre-order book as opposed to a book that's been released. So kind of something for each individual author to consider and look at. Now, the benefit of pre-orders is that all of your pre-sale orders are tallied up on release day, which means you'll have a big boost in your rankings. So if you have your book available for pre-order for 4 weeks prior to release day and you get 100 pre-orders, when your book goes live on release day, Amazon counts that as you having sold 100 books in one day, which will boost you up in your rankings, which means more people will see your book, which hopefully means more people will buy your book. So pre-order is a really great tool to use. I would encourage authors to look into that and utilize that if they can. Now, once we've hit the actual launch of your book, your tactics are going to slightly shift again because now we're in the launch or release marketing phase. Now, an important thing to send out is an email newsletter blast. Now, this is something that you want to start building as early as possible, getting subscribers to a mailing list so that when you have a big announcement and you send out that list, it's going straight to interested parties. So start building your email list as early as possible because this is a captive audience of readers who are interested in your books. And this is where we come back to that targeted marketing versus blanket marketing. You're sending an announcement and your links straight to people who have signed up because they're interested in knowing about your books. This is going to give you much better click-through ratings, and you're going to see a lot more people checking out what you're talking about than just having an advertisement, on Facebook or something. because these people who have signed up are already interested in your book and they want to know when it's coming out. So that's a really important thing to get started on as early as possible, and then utilize it to make your announcements and share your release info. Another fun thing to do after your release, or right on your release day if you can, is to hold a release party. Now, this can be in person. If you are up for organizing that, you can schedule a in-person book signing or launch party. Some people just do it at their house, or they'll rent a space if they have a lot of guests coming, things like that. If you're not in an area that works with that, or you're not really into parties and things like that, a great alternative is to do a Facebook party. And I'll go over that in more detail later. Basically, you're holding your release party online, and people from all over the world can come and join you. Another option is to do a Twitter chat party. Again, I'll have more details about that in just a little bit. That's kind of a newer thing that has been developing and can be a lot of fun. The point is of these release parties that you want to gather your fans and your readers in one place and celebrate the release. It's great to get other authors involved as well, bring in more games and prizes, and really it's just to have fun, to celebrate, and to get the word out about your book. Now, some other steps to take with your launch marketing are media appearances and interviews. Now, before you start feeling overwhelmed, thinking that I'm talking about trying to get on, the Oprah show or whatever, I don't know if that's even still on the air. Again, kind of scale it back to what you feel is manageable. Media appearances can include podcasts, blogs, radio, YouTube, all kinds of things. There are so many options out there, and a lot of them are really author friendly. So explore your local media outlets like radio and TV, because a lot of them are looking for local stories that they can feature. But don't be afraid to branch out and talk to online sources like internet radio shows, podcasts, bloggers. There are some Google Plus shows now that will air live over the Google network, which is neat. There are also a lot of book and writing related specific media outlets that are always interested in talking to authors. And we'll cover kind of some details of that a little bit later. So another great marketing technique for the immediate launch of your book are special incentives for people to buy during that release day or release week. And this can be anything from a freebie included with the purchase, like a short story or extra book or something like that. And sometimes they'll set that up with, hey, when you buy this, forward me your receipt from Amazon or iBooks or whatever. And once you get the receipt, then you send them their bonus gift, whatever that might be. Be creative with your incentives. If you have another talent like music or drawing, try to pair those up as much as you can to provide some kind of bonus gift. I cannot think of the author name. I wrote it down somewhere and then I lost it. But there was an author who was also a musician. So her incentive for people to buy her book during that first week it was released was that if they bought the book and emailed her the receipt, she gave them a code to download either a song or an album, I can't remember specifically, of her music. And so that was a fun incentive that she provided to people who bought her book that first week. These types of incentives, like I said, are usually the first week of release, depending on, what works for you individually. Make sure that you add your cover art to your social media images to help announce the release and get people interested in your book. And then update your bio with your release info and links so readers who are already following you will have the most current information about your books. So when you have that release, don't forget to update and add your links to everything. So putting your plan into action does require some planning, but all of that time and effort can really pay off with a great release for your book. Now, as promised, let's talk a little bit more specifically about some of the release parties that you can host online. These are very popular right now. Let's start with Facebook release parties. The way you go about setting that up is that you're going to create an event on Facebook, and then you're just going to add the details of where and when, whether that's an in-person event. You can set up an event for that as well. If you're just doing a Facebook party, you just put in as far as location that it's here on Facebook. You can join from wherever and add the details of who's participating, what some of the prizes and games are going to be, things like that, so people can get interested in what's going on. Then you want to invite your friends and readers, and then encourage them to invite other people. The great thing about doing it online is that it doesn't matter how many people get invited. You don't have to feed them. You don't have to plan for food. They're just going to show up on their computer and join the party, which is great. And a really good way to encourage people to invite other friends is to have a Who Invited You giveaway. And that would basically be when someone joins the party, they say who invited them, and then every time that person gets someone to comment their name, they get an entry into the giveaway. And, whatever you might be giving away, a signed copy, a gift card, things like that. It's incentive for people to invite their friends, which is going to help you build your exposure, which is great. Another good way to expand your reach is to invite other authors to be a part of your release party. This not only shares the burden, it shares the fans as well. You invite other authors to participate or do what's called a takeover during the party, and for however long, either half an hour or an hour are usually common, they will do their own games and prizes and giveaways and kind of take that burden off of you for a little while, but then they're also bringing in all of their fans to come to your party and learn more about your book, and hopefully they stay and enjoy some of the other games and prizes as well. And of course, more games and prizes means more fun. So it's always nice to have other authors come and help out. And, that just helps to expand your exposure and introduce you to their readers and introduce their readers to you. So some fun games that are played at Facebook release parties are things like the Caption This game, where you find a strange or funny or just bizarre picture and ask all the partygoers to write a caption for it. And every caption that they enter is an entry into the game. And some people like to pick the best caption, or you can just pick a winner at random as well, whatever you prefer. Book-themed games are a lot of fun. One of my most popular games that I'll play at most of my takeovers or launch parties revolves around my Date Shark series. And in that series, the Date Sharks are dating coaches who end up working with some pretty bizarre women. So the game that I play for that is to have everybody tell me their worst date story. And anyone who shares a story gets entered into the giveaway. And it's fun because, a lot of them, they can laugh about these terrible stories now. And we have fun kind of sharing those crazy experiences. And they get entered into the giveaway, and it's a lot of fun, and it helps promote that series for me. Some of the more common and just basic games that you can play are like my page, sign up for my newsletter, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, things like that. And every time somebody follows, they get entered into the giveaway. So it's a great way for you to build followers, and it's an easy, low-stress game to play too if you're kind of working on building followers or maybe having a hard time coming up with more specific games. That one's a great one. Some people will do a costume party, and these are great, especially if the book you're promoting relates to some kind of costume. If you're doing historical fiction, you want to see what their favorite period outfit would be. And so people just post pictures. They don't actually have to be pictures of themselves wearing something. They just find a fun picture that would be their costume if they were attending in real life. And then every costume that they post is an entry into the giveaway. Some other good ones are task-oriented games, like scavenger hunts, or go to my website and find all the pink letters and unscramble the word, things like that. Be creative, just have fun with it. People are there to just enjoy themselves and play the games and have a good time. Now, talking about doing these games and giveaways, we need to have prizes for them. And some common prizes are ebooks, signed paperback books, maybe a bookmark, postcards, different swag like necklaces or bracelets, things like that. Name a character after whoever wins. That can be a little iffy. Sometimes you get some weird names, so be careful there. But be creative and try to personalize your prizes as much as possible. Gift cards are always great too. You want to remember to, during your takeover part or during your release party, share some teasers and share the links for your book, because some of your guests are going to be people who were invited by other people or other authors, and they have no idea who you are. So make sure to share about your book through teasers, links, quotes, things like that, so that they get to know, basically the reason behind the party. Now, time limit is up to you. 2 to 3 hours is pretty common for a Facebook release party. Sometimes people do longer time periods to accommodate more time zones. If you have a lot of international friends or readers, you may want to spread it out and do it over a longer period of time. If that doesn't work for you and you only have, say, like 2 hours on an evening to hold your party, another great option is just to leave all of the games and giveaways open for 24 hours. And then, if you're holding it in the evening where you live, but it's, 3 in the morning somewhere else, those readers who have been invited can come on and check out the games and play all of them the next morning and do that. So you're still reaching as wide of an audience as you can, even if you aren't able to have a really long length of time for your party. So those are Facebook parties in a nutshell. Let's talk briefly about Twitter chats or Twitter parties. These are held in real time on Twitter. And basically what you need to do is create your own hashtag. And if you're not familiar with Twitter or hashtags, that is basically the pound symbol. It basically creates a searchable phrase or word on Twitter. So if I was setting one up for myself, I might do something simple like Del Cherie's release party. And I just put that pound symbol in front of it. And it's all one word, so no spaces between it. You want to squish them all together to make your hashtag. So this hashtag needs to be included in everybody's post or their tweet who is attending the party. And that's how you follow the discussion. It can be a little bit disorienting the first time you do it because you have to kind of figure out how to keep up with the conversation. It's really fast moving. But for people who really enjoy Twitter, this is a fun option. Some of the games that are played on Twitter chats are things like question games, where you'll ask a question and everybody who answers the question gets entered into the giveaway, or picture-based games, where you post a picture, maybe they, kind of like that costume party idea, they're going to post their pictures as well. Another great thing to do on Twitter is to have a retweet chain. So you come up with a tweet that promotes your book, and everybody who shares that or retweets it gets entered into the giveaway. So that helps you to spread the information about your book to a lot of other accounts and a lot of different followers. Time limit for Twitter chats, you're going to go for 1 to 2 hours tops. Because it can be more difficult to follow things on Twitter, you want to kind of keep it a little bit more condensed so you can track the entries. And with Twitter, you want to kind of close out the giveaways at the end of the party rather than leaving them open. It's going to be easier for you to track entries and then kind of close shop at the end of it. So, as promised now, a little bit more info on contacting the media. I know that can seem really intimidating, but most of the people that you're going to come in contact with are really nice and helpful, and they're more than happy to at least chat with you, tell you whether they're open to submissions or not. So don't be afraid of contacting the media. So let's start with radio. And this is regular radio, not internet radio. Local stations are a great place to announce local events that you're having. Not necessarily like, oh, my book just released, can you talk about it? This would be more if you're having a book signing, you're teaching a class, you're having, a author chat at somewhere local. Those would be the kind of things that a local radio station would be interested in sharing. And most radio stations, you can get in contact with them, either calling the station, sending them an email, getting in touch with them on Facebook, and just sending them a message. Most are very friendly to local authors, and they have regular community activities announcements that they can just add your event into the calendar and then share that. College radio stations are often geared toward academic interests, and most are more than happy to share about your literary events, and they may even have shows about books or writing that might fit your interest or your skills. So don't forget to check out your college radio stations. Now let's move to internet radio. Little bit different animal there, but a growing media outlet that is very friendly to authors. Blog Talk Radio is the biggest internet radio service right now. There are some others that are kind of coming up and competing, but that's one of the biggest right now. And there are lots and lots of writing and book-related shows. And a lot of them are constantly looking for authors to interview, or news about books in the book industry to discuss, or there are a lot that are geared toward writing advice as well. So, kind of the same, just contact them on their page, email, give them an idea of why you would be good for their show. If it's about writing advice, have a certain topic to suggest to them. Say, hey, I do a lot with developing characters, and I'd really love to come and talk with you guys about how to write great characters. Have something ready to pitch to them. So it's not just like, hey, I'm an author, can I be on your show? Have something prepared that you want to talk about on their show, so that they know you've kind of looked into what their show is about and you're prepared. Similar idea here are podcasts. Look for ones that are geared toward author interviews, writing advice, marketing ideas, book news, etc. There are hundreds of writing and book-related podcasts out there, all over the place. And a lot of publishers are starting podcasts, and just writer groups are starting podcasts and radio shows as well. So there are all kinds. And again, getting in contact with them, most of them will have their contact information right there on their page, and instructions on how to submit to them. Now, YouTube is a little bit different of a venue. This may be something that you are participating in on someone else's channel or on your own channel. If you're doing something on someone else's channel, they would kind of be in charge of uploading that and getting everything scheduled. But doing it on your own is a great option for marketing as well. You can post your own interview, either kind of interviewing yourself or interviewing other authors. You can create a release post, kind of like a press release about your book. Some other interesting things I've seen are authors sharing an excerpt from their book by either reading it live on the camera or recording your voice to play over images related to the book, things like that. Using actors or volunteers to act out a scene from your book is another fun way to market on YouTube. Or just sharing advice and tips, or discussing an event you attended, similar to like doing a video blog. So YouTube is one that I think a lot of authors don't utilize as much as they could, but it is another option there, and you can gain a good following on YouTube if you produce interesting content. Now, blogs, we've talked about doing blog tours. You can also contact blogs individually. And there are thousands of book blogs online. You need to research what genre each blog is interested in reviewing, what type of posts they share, what their guidelines are for submitting, almost every blog is going to have a page for submission guidelines or a form to submit to them. Cold submissions can work, but it's a little bit harder to get accepted. So to boost your chances, make sure that you're doing your research and that you've tried to interact with the blog and build a relationship with them. This isn't always possible if you're, trying to contact a lot of blogs at once. You can't maybe interact and get to know the bloggers more detailed with every single blog. But do make an effort to follow their guidelines and only submit to blogs that are interested in your genre. Now, local TV, if you have a local TV station, that's awesome. Where I live, we do not have a local TV station anymore. It's not interesting enough, I guess. But a lot of people do have local TV stations, and many stations are often looking for local interest pieces to kind of fill out their broadcasts, fill space that they have. If they have just a few minutes to kind of take up some time, they'll go for some local interest stories that they have on hand. So check out your local TV station website and look for a contact page. Most stations will have an email address that you can email or a form that you can fill out, and usually you're going to see something like news tips or story ideas that will kind of point you in the right direction of where you need to be submitting or contacting them. And make sure to have a professional media kit ready to send them, and that should contain information about your book or a specific event that you're hoping to get them to mention and why it might be of interest to their viewers. So even though contacting the media sounds scary, there are a lot of media outlets out there that are eager for guests and stories, as particularly from authors. Just remember to be professional and polite, and go ahead and take a chance. That's basically how myself and two of my friends here locally got involved in doing some Comic-Cons. I had sent them an email through their website, and they emailed back and said they would love to have us come and do a panel. So you never know what the response will be, but it doesn't hurt to take that chance and branch out. All right, so let's talk now about your post-launch marketing. This is going to be 3 to 4 months after your release. So during those 3 to 4 months after you've had your big launch and done your really targeted marketing efforts there, you're not just going to drop off. You want to still keep up a higher than usual level of marketing to kind of keep that launch buzz going as much as possible. So you aren't going to be quite as enthusiastic as that first week or two, because you might annoy everybody on social media if you do. So you are going to taper off a little bit, but you want to keep marketing a little bit more aggressively than what you would do on a long-term basis. Now, consistency is going to be the key during this phase. You want to plan consistent exposure over the first 3 to 4 months after the release. This includes daily, weekly, and monthly tasks oriented at keeping up exposure. So some examples of that are going to be posting advertisements in Facebook groups, not on your timeline and not on your author page. These are groups specifically geared toward book and author promotions. And there's a billion of them out there. Just type in books or author in the Facebook search bar. You'll come up with all kinds of stuff. So another thing are sharing your links on Twitter. And this should only be about 25% of your Twitter post. Don't spam everybody on Twitter with your book links every 5 minutes. People will unfollow you for sure. You also want to keep working on getting guest posts on different book blogs, special content either on your own blog or other people's blogs, such as character interviews or excerpts, things like that. Personal or author blogging posts. If you're a blogger, keep that going. Try to find topics maybe that direct back toward your new book. If not, just keep the content going so you're coming up in search results and people can find you. And then in-person events like book signings or lectures, things like that, school appearances, and keep interacting with readers. That's going to be an important part. You want to keep interacting with readers. If you're getting messages or emails, do your best to respond to those in a timely manner. Now, blog tours, we talked about setting those up earlier. So if you're in this post-launch phase and you haven't set up any blog tours yet and you want to, get on that as soon as you can. Because, like I said, they may be booked, so you may be a few months out. As tour posts begin to be posted, make sure to visit each blog, leave a comment thanking them for hosting you. And if they give a review, thank them for the review, things like that. Make sure to be polite. And not only is this just good manners, when you comment, it brings it back up in the search results. It may pop up on their social media or your social media feed. So it's expanding the exposure of the post, as well as just being a polite thing to do. And make sure to share the links of your blog tour posts on your social media accounts. And a good way to kind of keep track of blog posts during your blog tour is to subscribe to each post, not necessarily to the blog itself, if you don't want to, but to the individual post. You can do that on Blogger and WordPress. Maybe not every blog has that option, but most of them do. And that way it's going to email you or give you a notification to let you know someone else left a comment. So if readers are commenting, you'll be able to see that and then go on and respond to it. Makes it a lot easier than trying to keep track of it on your own. And again, make sure to go back and reply to comments as needed. And then keep a list of the bloggers who reviewed your books, either to remind them to post a review on Amazon or just to stay in contact with them about future reviews. And write down whether or not they liked your book. You may not want to contact them again if they really didn't like it. Might not be a good fit for you. So keep track of that as well. That can be important. And just, make a note whether they're interested in reviewing any of your future books so that you have that list ready to go for next time. Now, one more comment on reviews, or one more section talking about reviews before we wrap up part 1 of this podcast. Why are reviews so important? Why are authors always watching their reviews and asking people for reviews? Why? Why that fascination with reviews? Well, basically, new reviews that get posted boost your rankings on sites like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, things like that. So every time a new review gets posted, they kind of up you in the search results so that you're more visible. Reviews also boost reader confidence. It shows that people are buying your book, they're reading the book, and, hopefully that they're enjoying your book. It makes spending money on your book seem less risky, especially to readers maybe who have never read something of yours before. You want to help build that confidence. So, how do you get reviews? We've talked a little bit about this, but here are a few more tips for getting reviews because they are so important. The most basic advice is just ask for them. In many cases, it really is that simple. But, go about it the right way and only approach those who are interested in your genre and topic. Don't just spam everybody you know asking them to review your book. That's not going to go over well. Ask friends and family and remind them that they do need to be honest. Don't just, post this glowing, obviously fake review. That's not going to help. Talk to your beta readers, your critique partners, and other authors. You're going to find a lot of people interested and willing to review for you. Bloggers are a great source of reviews. It's best if you already have a relationship in place. But if you are cold submitting, just remember, follow their guidelines. Make sure they're open for reviews. And only submit to bloggers who actually read your genre. And please remember to be professional. If they say no, it's okay. Don't complain about it. Don't get upset. Just move on. Another simple but effective tactic is to put a message at the end of your book that asks for reviews. Something simple like, if you enjoyed this book, please consider leaving a review on your favorite reading platform. And a lot of people will do it. They just need that little reminder. Apps like the Kindle app and the Audible app will now, when a person finishes listening or reading to a book, a screen comes up that asks them, how would you rate this book? Would you like to leave a review? So that's awesome that they're kind of helping you try to build up your reviews. I find that extremely helpful. As an author and as a reader, it reminds me to do a review right then, and so I don't forget about it later. And incentives can be a great way to build reviews as well. You can ask readers to send their review link to you, either through email or message, and then offer some bonus gift or some extra incentive to review and then hopefully keep reading your books. That can be a good way to gather reviews as well. And like I mentioned before, don't pay for reviews. It is against most review policies on merchant sites. The only exception to that is going to be when we're talking about review services. And these are different than just paying a person to review your book. This is a service that you're paying for. So when you pay a fee to a review service, you are paying for access to reviewers, not for actual reviews. These services offer no guarantee on the number of reviews you'll get or the star level of reviews you'll get. Your book is added to a list of books that are available for review, and the reviewers who participate in the service choose which books to review and are required by the service to give an honest review after reading it. So again, you're not paying for reviews, you're paying to have your book listed on a review service and make it available to reviewers. Whether or not it's reviewed and how it's reviewed is completely up to the people who are reviewing it. The best and most effective of review services is NetGalley. It is also the most expensive that I'm aware of. And the cost to have your book listed with NetGalley for 6 months, I believe, is about $600. So it is an investment. If you have that amount of money in your budget to contribute toward that, it can be a great way to get a lot of reviews. But again, that has to be affordable to you and worth it for what you're doing. There are some others that are kind of coming up to compete with NetGalley. One of those is the Books Machine, and theirs is a little different. They have a monthly fee that you pay to have your books listed. And I'm not sure what that monthly fee is. I was a part of the Books Machine as a beta tester, so I never paid the fee, and then when they switched to the commercial version, I kind of got locked out of my account, so I never did find out what the fee was. But there are other options besides NetGalley. Some publishers are starting first reads programs where you can sign up to be a part of their program and get advanced copies of their books to review. And not every publisher does that. It's just a few right now that I've seen. Other sites and avenues for readers to access books or post reviews include, like I said, publisher-specific programs. And then there's Goodreads, LibraryThing, Shelfari, things like that, where readers can post reviews. So a big part of the post-launch marketing includes consistency and gathering reviews. It does take persistence and time, but those reviews are going to help your book be more visible and help you get in front of readers more often. So we are going to take a break there and wrap up part 1 of the Marketing Plan podcast, and I'll be back next time with part 2. We're going to talk a little bit more about street teams, getting together your promotional materials, cross-promoting with other authors, kind of work out a timeline, and looking at long-term marketing. And then we'll talk a little bit about paid advertising and then genre-specific advertising that can work well depending on what genre you're writing in. So, hopefully you enjoyed this and found some helpful tips for you in your marketing. And we will be back in the next podcast talking a little bit more about marketing and how to put it into practice. So thank you for coming by the podcast and listening today. Hopefully you'll share this with anyone you think might be interested in learning more about book marketing. And please feel free, as always, to leave any comments or suggestions for topics you would like to see covered or how we could improve the podcast. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks again for listening to Author Life Podcast. For more information on the podcast or guest authors, check out the links in the show description. If there's a topic you'd like to learn more about, find me online and send me suggestions anytime.